Welcome back to the deep dive. We're doing something a little different today.
A bit of a pivot.
Big pivot, yeah. Usually we're looking outward,
Yeah.
Taking a huge stack of articles about some new tech breakthrough or a historical event or a really complex economic theory. But today...
What are you turning the microscope around?
Exactly. We are looking at us, humans, and more specifically, the operating system that runs our social lives.
It's a fascinating subject because we all, I think, walk around with this illusion of autonomy.
Right.
We love to think we're these, rational agents making independent choices. We have authentic conversations. We build relationships based on shared values and all that.
That's the story we tell ourselves.
It is. But the source material we've been digging into for this, and there is a lot of it, it suggests that a massive percentage of what we call social interaction is, well, it's actually a biological and strategic game.
A game.
With very specific, hard-coded rules.
And the scary part, I think the really scary part, is that most of us have never read the rule book.
We haven't even been told there is a rule book.
Exactly. And that's the hook for this. The mission for this deep dive is to provide a comprehensive, and I want to stress this, no-fluff guide to people's psychology and social dynamics. And, let's be clear about what no fluff means in this context.
It means we're stripping away the moralizing.
Yes. The shubs.
Right. Think about all the advice you probably got growing up. Be nice, work hard, and you'll get noticed.
Oh, yeah. Just be yourself. That's the big one.
Just be yourself. It's the fluff. And to be fair, it's well-intentioned, sure. It describes how we'd like the world to be.
It's an aspirational map.
That's a great way to put it, an aspirational map. But if you want to navigate, say, office politics, or understand why a less competent person just got promoted over you, or even just handle a toxic family member...
That map is useless.
Worse than useless. It'll get you completely lost.
Yeah.
You need to look at how the machinery actually functions.
It feels a little bit like we're about to look at the source code of the Matrix or something.
It really is. And I think we need to set the stage properly here because some of this can get... Well, it can get uncomfortable.
For sure.
This isn't about being cynical. It's not a guide on how to be a manipulator. It's about being observant. The sources we've pulled from, they promise the unvarnished mechanics of things like herd behavior status games, corporate warfare.
Yeah, the real stuff.
The real stuff.
So consider this maybe a warning or an invitation to you, the listener. We are going to discuss things people rarely, if ever, admit to. We're going to talk about the huge difference between being nice and being good.
And why being harmless might actually just mean you're weak.
It's heavy stuff.
It is heavy stuff, but it's necessary. I think the bottom line is this. If you don't understand the machinery, you are just a cog in it. You're being moved by forces you don't even see.
Okay, so let's unpack this machinery. The source material calls it the operating system. And it starts with a pretty bold premise.
Very bold.
It says that before we can even get to the complex stuff like, manipulation or negotiation, we have to accept that something like 90% of our interactions are driven by just 3 hidden drivers.
Yeah.
Subconscious imperatives.
Right. These are the background apps. They're running constantly. They're consuming your mental CPU, and you usually don't even know they're open.
Okay, so what's the first one?
The first one is called preservation of the avatar, or you could call it ego survival.
I love that phrase, social avatar. But let's break it down because ego is a word we throw around a lot. What does it actually mean in this specific context?
Well, think about it from an evolutionary perspective, right?
Mm.
For almost all of human history, if you got kicked out of the tribe, you died, period.
Right. Social death was actual death.
Social death equaled physical death.
Yeah.
So the brain evolved this massive, incredibly sensitive alarm system to prevent social rejection at all costs. Now, fast forward to today. Your physical survival is, rarely at stake during a dinner party conversation.
Hopefully not.
You're not running from lions at the office. So the brain repurposes that ancient fight-or-flight mechanism to protect something else.
Your identity.
Your identity, your status, your sense of self. That is your social avatar.
So when I'm in a meeting, let's say, and someone disagrees with an idea I've put forward, my brain isn't processing that as constructive feedback. It's seeing a predator.
Precisely. That's the mechanism. When you correct someone with facts, let's say you're at that dinner party and you correct a friend's story about a news article, their brain registers that as a status reduction.
Not as helpful information.
Not at all. It registers as a physical attack. Their amygdala, the fear center of the brain, it just lights up. They don't hear, oh, here's some new useful information. They feel, I just got punched in the face.
Which would explain why arguing on the internet is, like, the most useless activity known to man.
Completely and utterly useless. Actually, it's worse than useless because what it does is it makes the other person dig in their heels and entrench their position even more.
They double down.
Every single time. The source material has this fantastic line. People would rather crash the plane than admit they don't know how to fly it.
Wow.
Because admitting they're wrong, admitting they don't know how to fly, it destroys the avatar. And the brain will do anything to prevent that.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
But we promised a guide, not just, a diagnosis. So if I need to change someone's mind, and let's make it high stakes, a work situation, my boss is about to make a huge, costly mistake.
Yeah.
How do I do that without triggering this fight or flight response?
You have to construct what the sources call a heroic out.
A heroic out. I like that. Explain what that is.
You absolutely cannot corner a human being with logic. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you back them into a corner where the only way out is for them to say, I was stupid and you were right, they will fight you to the metaphorical death.
They will burn the building down.
They will burn it down. So you have to frame the correction in a way that protects their ego. You have to write a new narrative for them on the fly where they are still the good guy. They're still the hero.
Okay, give me a script. Let's make it real. What does that actually sound like in that meeting with my boss?
Okay, so imagine your boss. Let's call him Bob. Bob wants to launch a new product in a market that, just crashed last week. You've seen the data. You know it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
The amateur move is to walk in and say, Bob, look at this data. You're wrong. This is a terrible idea.
And Bob immediately feels attacked. His avatar is under threat.
Instantly. And what does he do?
He doubles down.
Yeah.
He tells me I'm not seeing the big picture.
Exactly. He defends his ego. So instead, you use the heroic out. You go into his office and you say something like, Bob, that strategy was absolutely the right call based on the Q3 data we had last week. It made total sense.
Okay, so I'm validating him first.
You're validating his past competence. Then you say, but looking at this new report that literally just came in this morning, it looks like the entire landscape has shifted under our feet.
I see what you did there. It's brilliant. You're not saying he was wrong. You're saying the data is now different.
Precisely. You let him be right in the past so he can agree with you in the future. You're blaming the new data, not his judgment. You're giving him a path to change his mind without losing any status.
It's such a subtle, but, a crucial shift. You're separating the person from the error.
You're letting the avatar survive. That's the key. If the avatar is safe, then the rational part of the brain can finally come online and actually listen to reason.
That's a game changer. Okay, let's move to driver number 2. This one explains why I procrastinate, but apparently it also explains a ton about social dynamics. It's called the economy of energy.
Or as I like to call it, profound biological laziness.
Deep laziness, yeah.
And it is biological. The brain is what psychologists call a cognitive miser.
A cognitive miser.
Yeah. It consumes about 20% of the body's total energy, which is just huge for a single organ. It's incredibly expensive to run. So it's constantly, desperately looking for ways to save power. It's like your phone trying to go into low power mode all the time.
So it doesn't want to think hard if it doesn't absolutely have to.
Exactly. Thinking, real critical, deep analysis, it burns a ton of calories. So people don't think. They pattern match. They look for mental shortcuts, heuristics.
Okay, so the source material brings up this clipboard and suit hack. This feels like something out of a spy movie, but you're saying it actually works.
Oh, it's a classic for a reason. There have been dozens of social experiments on this. If you walk into a building, wearing a high-vis vest and carrying a ladder, or wearing a decent suit and holding a clipboard.
And you walk with purpose.
That's the key. You have to walk with a purposeful stride. People will hold the door for you. Security guards will nod at you. They won't ask for ID.
But why? Are we just that gullible?
It's not about being gullible. It's about being efficient. Your brain looks at the guy in the suit, and it does a quick subconscious calculation. Should I stop this person and analyze their credentials and risk a conflict?
Which takes energy.
A lot of energy. It invites conflict. Or, the brain asks, should I just match the pattern? Suit plus clipboard plus confidence equals authority. Okay, seems legit. Open the door.
Because analyzing you takes energy, but accepting the preloaded pattern is free.
Right. And the big takeaway here for you, for the listener, isn't to go sneak into buildings. It's to understand that very often professional success doesn't come from being the absolute best or the most brilliant or the most nuanced.
It comes from being the easiest option to process.
Yes. If you are easy to categorize in a positive way, authority, expert, safe bet, You win.
That is a profoundly depressing, but also incredibly powerful insight. If you're difficult for me to understand, you're making me burn my precious mental calories, and I subconsciously resent you for it.
Exactly. You've nailed it.
Which, I guess, leads us right into the third hidden driver, and this one explains so much about bad leadership, the dominance-competence trade-off.
Oh, this is a frustrating one, especially for the quiet, thoughtful, intellectual types out there.
I can imagine.
The fact is, we are hardwired, genetically, to follow dominance, not necessarily competence.
What's the evolutionary reason for that?
Well, go back to the ancestral environment. You're on the savannah and there's a threat, a lion in the grass.
Yeah.
You don't want the leader who stops and contemplates the philosophical implications of the lion.
Or forms a subcommittee to analyze the data.
Exactly. You want the guy who screams, R-O, and throws a spear. You want decisive, immediate action.
We crave certainty in a crisis.
We crave certainty. And historically, for thousands of years, confidence was a pretty good proxy for competence. If you were really confident about fighting a lion, you'd probably done it before and survived. But in the modern, complex world, that correlation is completely broken.
So we mistake confidence for competence all the time.
Constantly. There's a reality in every boardroom that we've all seen play out. The person who speaks first, who speaks the loudest, and who interrupts the most is almost always perceived as the leader.
Even if their ideas are mediocre or just plain bad.
It doesn't matter. It's the volume, not the validity. The brain craves the feeling of certainty more than it craves the actual truth.
Okay, so just to recap, those are the three drivers. We're wired to protect our social avatar at all costs. We are lazy cognitive misers, and we blindly follow loud confidence.
That's the operating system.
And once you have those three things running in the background for every individual, you start to get the bizarre collective behavior. You get the herd.
Section 2. The herd. And the source material is very specific here. It calls this a safety trap. Because it's really important to understand that herd behavior isn't just people being stupid. It's a calculated risk management strategy.
Right. The classic example. If I'm an antelope in a herd and the whole herd suddenly starts running, I don't stand there and ask, wait a minute, is that actually a lion or is that just the wind in the trees?
Because if you pause to ask why, you get eaten. It's that simple. If the herd runs, you run. The cost of being wrong when you run is you just wasted a few calories. The cost of being wrong when you stay is death.
Simple math. But in the modern world, in the office or online, that instinct gets weaponized. The outline highlights something called pluralistic ignorance. It sounds like a really fancy term for peer pressure, but it seems more specific, more insidious.
It's peer pressure's smarter, more dangerous older brother. Pluralistic ignorance is the boardroom nod.
The boardroom nod.
Imagine this scenario. A CEO proposes a truly terrible idea. We're going to pivot the entire company to focus on crypto AI-powered pet food.
Sounds like a winner.
It's expensive, it's risky, it makes absolutely no sense, but the CEO smiles confidently and looks around the table for approval.
And I, sitting at that table, I immediately look around at everyone else to see how they're reacting.
Of course you do. You look over at Susan. Susan is nodding slowly. You look at Mike. Mike is taking notes, and yep, he's nodding too. So you think to yourself, well, I think this is monumentally stupid, but Susan and Mike are smart. They obviously get something I don't. I must be the one who's missing something.
So I start nodding too, just to fit in.
You nod too, but here's the twist.
There's always a twist.
The twist is that Susan is looking at you. She thinks the idea is stupid, but because you are nodding, she assumes you get it. And Mike is looking at both of you. Everyone privately rejects the idea, but because everyone assumes everyone else accepts it, the bad idea passes with unanimous consent.
That is absolutely terrifying. It's a complete illusion of consensus.
And for a manipulator, it is a goldmine. Because the exploit here, the real hack, is that to control a group, you don't need to convince everyone. You don't even need a majority.
How many do you need?
You only need to convince the first two vocal people.
Just the first two. That's it.
That's it. Once two people agree loudly and confidently, that laziness driver kicks in for everyone else. Their brains say, okay, consensus has been reached. No need to burn calories thinking about this anymore. And they fall in line just to avoid friction. It's a domino effect.
Which I think brings us directly to the information cascade. This is basically the math behind something going viral, right? Or why stock markets crash so suddenly.
Yes, exactly. It's all about sequential decision-making. Person A makes a decision based on their own private data. I think this stock is a good buy. Person B, who has less data, sees what person A did and follows them. Well, A is smart, so I'll buy too.
Okay.
Then person C sees that both A and B have bought in. The social proof is even stronger, so they follow. By the time you get down to person J in the chain, they aren't looking at the company's financial data at all.
They're just looking at the chain of people in front of them.
They are basing their decisions solely on the fact that everyone before them did it. The decision becomes completely divorced from the original information.
Even if person A was totally wrong to begin with.
The entire massive cascade can be built on a single initial error. It's a fragile house of cards, but it looks like a fortress from the outside.
So how do you break it? I mean, if I'm in that meeting and I see the crypto pet food idea gaining steam, and I can literally feel the cascade happening, what do I actually do? Because if I just stand up and scream, "Stop, you're all wrong," I'm attacking the tribe.
And they will turn on you instantly. Remember the avatar. You have to be subtle. You have to disrupt the visual consensus. The research here is very clear. One single dissenting voice can shatter the illusion of pluralistic ignorance. But you have to do it carefully. You can't attack the group.
So I attack the idea.
You attack the premise. You give the other silent dissenters permission to defect. You might say something like, "I can see why we're leaning this way, and I love the momentum here." But just playing devil's advocate for a second, if we look at the core premise of the budget for this, I'm seeing a potential risk here that might hurt us down the line.
So I'm not being the angry rebel. I'm playing the concerned, helpful friend.
Yes. You're framing your dissent as an act of protection for the group, and you break the unanimity. The moment you speak up, Susan, who was secretly doubting it all along, now feels she has permission to voice her concerns. You pop the bubble.
But doing that, being that one dissenting voice,
Mm-hmm.
that puts a target on your back, doesn't it? Which brings us to tall poppy syndrome.
It absolutely does. The herd has a very, very complex relationship with success. We say we admire it, we tolerate it, but deep down, we hate outliers. We hate people who stand out too much.
The nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
It's a human universal. If you surpass the status quo, your peers might smile at you. They might say congratulations at the party. But biologically, subconsciously, you are triggering their envy. You are sending a signal that they are losing the resource competition.
So if I'm winning, let's say I just got a huge promotion or my project is a massive success, should I hide it? Should I downplay it?
You shouldn't hide it, no, but you should absolutely practice what the sources call strategic vulnerability. This is a brilliant tactic for high performers to manage envy. If you are winning heavily, you need to publicly admit to small, relatable flaws or attribute some of your success to bad luck.
Give me an example of that. What does that sound like?
Okay, let's say you just closed the biggest deal of the quarter. Everyone is looking at you. The amateur move is to say, "Yeah, I crushed it. I'm the best." That makes you a threat.
Right, a call poppy.
Instead, you say something like, "Honestly, the deal went great, but I'm totally exhausted. I barely slept for a week, and to be honest, I think I just got lucky with the timing on that last call."
So you're deliberately lowering your threat level.
You're appeasing the envy. You're signaling, "Don't worry, I'm not a god. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm lucky just like you." It lets them feel like they're still in the same tribe, while you, of course, keep the actual power and the commission check.
That is incredibly Machiavellian. I love it. Okay, let's move into section 3, which is called the glitch. This addresses a question that I think everyone has asked at some point in their career. Why do unintelligent, sometimes abrasive people often climb the ladder faster than the quiet geniuses?
It is the great paradox, isn't it? The success without awareness paradox. And it all comes down to what one source calls the burden of self-awareness.
You're saying being smart can actually be a handicap.
In terms of sheer speed and action, yes. Absolutely. Highly intelligent, self-aware people, they simulate outcomes. Before they speak up in a meeting, they run 5 different simulations in their head.
What if I'm wrong? What if the boss hates it? Is this statistically accurate? Did I forget to carry the 1? Is my fly down?
Exactly. It's analysis paralysis. Meanwhile, the unaware person, the person with low self-awareness, doesn't simulate. They don't have that internal critic. They just act. They just roll the dice.
And the math says?
The math says that purely by volume of attempts, they might actually rack up more wins over time.
Wait, I have to push back on this. We live in a data-driven world, supposedly. Surely results matter more than just activity. If I take 50 shots at goal and I miss 49 of them, I'm not a go-getter, I'm a liability. How does the idiot actually survive that high failure rate?
That is the perfectly logical objection. And in a perfectly rational system, you would be 100% right. But most systems, especially large corporations, they aren't rational, they're noisy. The glitch here is a combination of memory decay and visibility bias.
Explain that.
People remember the victory party for the one big win. They see the fireworks. They forget the 49 quiet failures that led up to it.
They see the one time he landed the big client.
Exactly. The intelligent person, meanwhile, never throws the party because they're too busy analyzing why the other 49 attempts failed. Or more likely, they only took 2 careful shots because they wanted them to be perfect. The herd just sees 50 loud attempts from one guy and one big win, and they think, wow, this guy is a real go-getter. He's not afraid to fail.
And this ties right into the weaponized Dunning-Kruger effect, I assume.
It's the engine that powers the whole phenomenon. We usually think of Dunning-Kruger as a joke, stupid people don't know they're stupid. But in the social game, it's a weapon because incompetent people lack the metacognition to realize they're incompetent. They have
Delusional confidence.
They have unshakable delusional confidence. They truly, deeply believe they are God's gift to marketing or sales or whatever.
And because they believe it so completely?
Because they believe it, they show no micro-expressions of doubt. There's no vocal hesitation, no shifty eyes, no anxiety. And remember the driver we talked about. We are wired to follow confidence, not competence. So the herd trusts the delusional loud guy's certainty over the humble expert who says, well, the data's a bit inconclusive. We need to study it more.
So the lesson for the listener, for the person who is competent and self-aware, is that sometimes you have to turn off your internal monitor.
You have to stop checking yourself so much. Sometimes you have to channel that delusion. You have to act as if you are 100% certain because it is simply more effective to do so.
There's also a structural reason for this, right? Specifically in big companies. They call it failing upwards.
Oh, this is a painful reality for anyone who has worked in a large corporation. The truth is, it is often very, very difficult to fire a manager. It requires a ton of paperwork, severance pay, legal risk, uncomfortable meetings.
That's a huge hassle.
It's a huge hassle. So often, the path of least resistance isn't to fire them, it's to promote them.
Wait, promote them? That sounds insane.
You promote them out of the way. Let's make Bob the new VP of Special Projects. You move them to a newly created division where they have a fancy title but can't actually break anything important.
Or, and I've seen this, you move them to a role that relies entirely on soft skills, which means just talking, while you keep the actual valuable workers, the ones who can code or build things, stuck in their execution roles.
That is the great tragedy of it. The competent people are deemed too valuable to promote out of their current role. I can't promote Sarah. She's the only one who actually understands the legacy code. But Bob is just annoying and breaks things. Let's make Bob a director so I don't have to deal with him every day.
That is so deeply depressing.
It's the glitch in the system. But knowing it's there helps you navigate it. You have to make sure you don't become the person who is so good at fixing the printer that you become the printer guy forever.
Right. We'll get to those strategies in the corporate warfare section. But first, let's talk about the tool set. Section 4 is called the offensive tool set. This is about power, status, and charisma.
Okay, let's start with power. The most fundamental, unbreakable law of power in any negotiation, any relationship, is the least interested person principle.
The person who is willing and able to walk away from the deal holds all the cards.
Always. 100% of the time. Necessity is the opposite of power. It signals desperation. If you need the deal, if you need that date, if you need that job, you have absolutely no leverage. This is where the business concept of BT&A comes in.
Best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
You always, always need a plan B, a real one. Because if your brain knows you can walk away and be okay, your entire demeanor changes.
I actually tried this once. This is embarrassing. I was at a car dealership. I read about the walkaway power. I was trying to buy this, sensible used sedan. The salesman would not budge on the price. So I stood up. I said, well, no deal. And I turned and started to walk toward the door.
And let me guess, you walked very, very slowly.
I walked so slowly. I was basically moonwalking to the exit. I was just praying he would call me back. My heart was pounding out of my chest. But I reached the door handle and it let me go. I ended up sitting in my old car in the parking lot, realizing I had no plan B, and I really, really needed a car. I had to go back in 10 minutes later with my tail between my legs. It was humiliating.
That is the perfect illustration. You were faking the abundance mindset. Your brain knew you needed that car. The least interested person principle only works if you genuinely have a B, any, and A. If you don't have a second dealership to go to, your micro expressions, your posture, your slow walk, It all screams, please, please stop me. The carby will read you like a book.
So you can't just fake the walk. You have to have actually done the work beforehand to have a real alternative.
It's the only way. That's what gives you the confidence to use the vacuum of silence.
Ah, tell me about the vacuum of silence.
We are social animals. We are terrified of silence. In the wild, silence often meant a predator was near. So when there's a pause in a conversation, it signals a breach in the social connection, and people rush to fill it with chatter.
Usually nervous chatter, in my experience.
Almost always nervous chatter. And they start negotiating against themselves. Well, the price is $500, but, I could probably do $400. Or maybe I could throw in free shipping. The power move is to just stare. Ask your question, get an unsatisfactory answer, and then just wait.
You stare them down.
Not in an aggressive way, just an expectant, calm stare. Count to 10 in your head. The other person will almost always break first. They will speak just to relieve the social tension, and when they do, they will give you information you never would have gotten otherwise.
Let's talk about the invisible hierarchy, the nonverbal stuff, status signals. The source material talks about how we broadcast our status through space and our voice.
Space claiming is a huge one. High status expands. Think of a CEO in a meeting, leaning way back in their chair, arm draped over the empty seat next to them. They take up as much room as possible.
And low status.
Low status condenses. You cross your legs tightly, you hunch your shoulders, you keep your elbows tucked into your body, you try to take up less space.
And what about touching your neck? I see people do that all the time.
That is a massive tell. It's a self-soothing behavior. It's a subconscious attempt to protect your jugular vein. It signals, I feel threatened and I need to protect myself. It's an ancient primal instinct. If you want to project confidence, one of the easiest things to do is just stop touching your face and neck. Keep your hands visible and still.
And then there's voice. The difference between uptalk and downward inflection.
Oh, uptalk is the absolute death of authority. When you end a sentence with a rising intonation, we're going to use this new strategy. It sounds like you were asking for permission.
You're seeking approval from the group.
Exactly. You want to use downward inflection. We are going to use this new strategy. You drop the pitch at the very end of the sentence. It signals, I am delivering a fact. Even if you aren't 100% sure, you state it as a fact. Police officers are trained to do this to command authority.
And what about the filibuster? This is for when someone tries to interrupt you in that meeting.
This is a pure dominance battle. When someone interrupts you, the normal instinct is either to stop talking, which is submission, or to get louder, which is aggression. The pro move is to do neither.
You guys keep going.
You continue speaking at the exact same volume and the exact same tempo as before.
You just plow right through them.
You create an audio collision. It gets very awkward for about 1 or 2 seconds. But because you didn't react to their interruption, they look like the aggressor, the jerk. They will almost always yield and back down.
Now, charisma. The source says charisma isn't some magic you're born with. It's something you can engineer.
Absolutely. It's a learnable skill set. It's a mix of 3 things: presence, power, and warmth. And yes, you can absolutely fake it till you make it.
Presence seems like the big one. In a world of distractions, how do you fake presence?
2 simple things. First, the 2-second pause. When someone finishes talking to you, before you answer, just pause. Count to 2 in your head. It does 2 things. It shows you are actually absorbing their words instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, and it shows you aren't afraid of the silence. It makes you look incredibly thoughtful and composed.
And sticky eyes.
Sticky eyes. You hold eye contact for just a fraction of a second longer than feels natural, especially as you're finishing your own sentence. It creates this intense feeling of connection and intimacy. It makes the other person feel like they're the only person in the entire room.
Okay. My absolute favorite hack in this entire document is the Ben Franklin effect for generating warmth, because it's so completely counterintuitive.
It is, isn't it? Our normal thinking is that to get people to like us, we should do favors for them. I'll get you a coffee, I'll help you with that report. But the psychology says that's backwards.
It puts you in the servant role.
It puts you in a lower status supplicating role. If you really want someone to like you, you should ask them for a small, easy favor.
Like, hey, can I borrow your pen for a second?
Yeah.
Or, could you take a quick look at this one slide for me?
Exactly. It has to be small. This triggers cognitive dissonance in their brain. Their brain goes through this logic: I am doing a favor for this person. I don't do favors for people I dislike. Therefore, I must like this person. You are literally tricking their brain into valuing you more.
That is just brilliant. Okay, let's flip the script. We've talked about the offensive tool set. Section 5 is the defensive tool set. This is about verbal warfare and deception. How do we deal with aggression when it's coming at us?
The core principle here is what hostage negotiators call tactical empathy. Meeting aggression with more aggression just creates a fight that you might not win. You want to de-escalate using something called the calibrated question.
This comes directly from hostage negotiation, right?
It does. It's all about shifting the burden of the problem. If your boss comes to you with an impossible deadline, I need this entire report finished by 5 p.m. today. The amateur move is to say, I can't do that.
That's a no. That's a direct confrontation.
It's a wall. So instead, you use a how question. You say, in a calm and cooperative tone, I want to help you get this done, but looking at my other urgent projects, how am I supposed to achieve that?
You're not saying no. You're forcing them to solve your problem for you.
You're putting the burden back on them, but you sound cooperative. You're asking for their advice, not refusing their order. They are forced to stop and think, well, okay, maybe if you drop that other project for now they are the ones giving you permission to reprioritize your work.
And what about labeling? The act of saying, it sounds like you're frustrated.
It sounds so simple, almost condescending, but it works on a biological level. Research shows that labeling a negative emotion verbally actually diminishes the activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and anger center.
Really?
Yes. If someone is screaming at you and you just calmly say, it sounds like you feel very disrespected right now, it can completely deflate the balloon of their anger.
But why does that work?
Because they feel heard. The scream, the anger, it's a signal designed to get attention. Notice my pain. Validate my feelings. Once you verbally acknowledge their pain by labeling it, the signal isn't needed anymore. The brain can calm down.
Okay, what about the accusation audit? This is for when you know you're about to deliver bad news and the other person's going to be angry.
This is a fantastic preemptive strike. You list all the terrible things they're probably thinking about you before they have a chance to say them.
You steal their thunder.
You steal all their ammunition. You walk in and say, look, you're going to think I'm lazy. You're going to think I dropped the ball on this and you're going to be furious with me. If you say it first, they can't use it as a weapon against you. In fact, human nature often makes them want to reassure you. No, Bob, I don't think you're lazy. Let's just see what happened. You clear the entire emotional minefield before you even step into it.
Let's move to detecting deception. The source material says to forget all the Hollywood stuff, like looking up and to the left.
Yeah, that's all pop psychology nonsense. It's been thoroughly debunked. There is no single Pinocchio's nose that works for everyone. Deception detection is all about baseline deviation.
You have to calibrate first.
You have to. You need to know how a person acts and speaks when they're telling the truth, when they're relaxed. You ask them safe, easy questions first. How was your weekend? What did you have for lunch? You watch their body language, their blink rate, their vocal tone. That's their baseline.
And then you look for hot spots.
Then you look for hot spots. If I ask you, what did you have for lunch? And you sit perfectly still. But then I ask, did you send that confidential email? And you suddenly start touching your neck or rubbing your eyes or shifting your weight in your chair. That change from the baseline is the hot spot. It's a signal of stress.
And what about distancing language?
Liars subconsciously hate the lie they're telling. They want to separate themselves from it. So they often remove the I from the sentence. Instead of saying, I didn't break the lamp, a liar might say, the lamp broke. Or think of the classic from Bill Clinton, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
He didn't say Monica.
He said, that woman. It creates emotional and linguistic distance.
The source also mentions a really clever technique, the reverse story technique. This is a cognitive load trap.
This is probably the single best way to catch a rehearsed lie. Liars memorize a story like a movie script. A happened, then B happened, then C happened. They practice it forwards until it's smooth.
So you ask them to rewind the tape.
You say, okay, that's interesting. Could you tell me what happened in reverse order, starting from the moment you left the building and working backwards? Their brain has to try and reconstruct the fabricated events backwards, which causes a massive cognitive load spike.
They can't just play the script backwards in their head.
It's nearly impossible. They'll stumble, they'll pause for way too long, they'll get facts and sequences wrong. The cracks in the story appear because their brain is working way too hard just to maintain the fabrication under that kind of pressure.
That's powerful. Okay, Section 6. We're officially entering the danger zone now. The dark arts, manipulation, and corporate survival.
And we have to be crystal clear here. We are describing these tactics so that you can spot them and defend against them, not so you can go out and inflict them on people. These are very dangerous games.
Understood. First up, Gaslighting. We hear this word thrown around a lot on social media, but what is the actual mechanism? It's not just lying, is it?
No, it's far more insidious. Gaslighting is distinct from lying because of its target. Lying is about hiding a specific truth from you. I didn't eat the last cookie. Gaslighting is about dismantling your entire processing unit. It's about making you distrust your own sanity, your own memory.
So how does it typically play out?
It usually happens in 3 stages. First is the disbelief stage. You think, that's weird. He said he didn't eat the lunch from the fridge, but the empty wrapper with his name on it is right there in the trash. You brush it off. You give them the benefit of the doubt because you're a rational person.
Right, you assume it's just a misunderstanding.
But then comes the defense stage. You start arguing. You start bringing evidence. Look, here is the wrapper. Here's the receipt. And the gaslighter doesn't admit it. Instead, they pivot and attack you. They'll say something like, you are obsessing over a piece of trash. You've really been acting crazy lately. You're just too sensitive.
So now you aren't debating the lunch anymore. You're debating your own sanity.
That is the crucial shift. The final stage is depression. You stop trusting your own memory. You start relying on their version of reality because your version keeps getting shot down and called crazy.
So how on earth do you counter that?
The number one rule is do not JD, that's an acronym, justify, argue, defend, or explain. The moment you start arguing with a gaslighter, you are playing their game. You are implicitly validating that your reality is up for debate.
So what do you do instead?
You state your reality calmly and once, I know what I saw, or I know what I heard, and then you disengage from the conversation. You have to learn to trust your own memory over their confident insistence. You have to be willing to be misunderstood by them, and that's very hard.
Then there's love bombing. The source calls this the narcissist's favorite tool.
It's a deliberate addiction cycle. In the beginning, they overwhelm you with praise, attention, gifts. You're the most brilliant employee I've ever had. You're my soulmate. I've never felt this way before. It floods your brain with dopamine.
It feels amazing.
It feels like the best thing that's ever happened to you. But then once you're hooked, they withdraw it all. Suddenly, they're cold, distant, critical. You go into emotional withdrawal and you start chasing them, trying to do anything to get that high back. If a relationship, personal or professional, feels way too intense, way too fast, like a movie montage, that is a massive red flag.
What about triangulation? This happens in offices all the time, I think.
All the time. The manipulator positions themselves as the central gatekeeper of information. They go to you and say, hey, just so you know, Bob told me in confidence he hates your project. Then they go to Bob and say, hey, be careful, Susan thinks you're incompetent.
So now Bob and I hate each other and can't work together.
And you both rely on the manipulator for information about the other person. They become the puppet master, pulling both your strings.
Yeah, the counter move.
It's simple, but it takes courage. You go directly to the source. You walk up to Bob and say, hey, Bob, I heard a reel you had some concerns about my project. I'd love to hear them directly from you. The manipulator's power evaporates the moment the two victims talk to each other. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Let's talk about the dark triad in the wild. The narcissist, the Machiavellian, and the psychopath.
You will inevitably find these personality types in high-stakes, high-power environments. CEOs, surgeons, top salespeople, they gravitate toward power. The narcissist is the fragile god. Their entire world is built on needing admiration, what's called narcissistic supply. You handle them by managing them, flatter them, let them take credit for your ideas, don't fight them head-on or they will try to destroy you. The Machiavellian is the cynical chess player. They see life as a game, they are rational. You handle them by appealing to their cold self-interest. Helping me on this gets you a bigger budget next quarter. They respect the transaction.
And the psychopath.
The cold-blooded predator, zero empathy. They don't care about your flattery, and they might betray your deal just for the thrill of it. The only winning strategy with a true psychopath is avoidance. Make yourself boring. Make yourself non-useful to them. If you are boring, they will move on to find a more interesting victim to play with.
That sounds a lot like the gray rock method, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, let's cover these corporate warfare rules. Some of these are going to hit very close to home for people. Let's start with the open door trap.
Okay, I want everyone listening to hear this very, very clearly. HR protects the company from you. They do not protect you from the company. The open door policy is, more often than not, a data collection tool to identify troublemakers and liabilities.
So you're saying never go to HR, and that seems pretty extreme.
The absolute rule is to remember that HR's function is risk management for the company. They are not the school counselor. Now, does that mean you never speak to them? No, but you have to speak their language. You don't go in there saying, My boss is a mean person and it hurts my feelings.
Because feelings are messy and legally complicated.
Exactly. That makes you the liability. Instead, you go in and you say, I'm concerned that the specific behavior creates a potential legal liability for the company regarding hostile workplace compliance laws. Suddenly, you are not a victim complaining. You are a partner in risk reduction. That is how you survive the open door trap.
What about credit theft? We need to know the public verification tactic.
If you're in a meeting and your boss or a colleague states your idea as if it's their own, you can't whine about it afterwards. That makes you look weak. Instead, immediately after the meeting, you send a group email. You write, "Great meeting, everyone. Really loved Bob's point about my idea. As I mentioned when I brought it up earlier, the data from my report strongly supports this direction." You create a public paper trail of the idea's origin while pretending to be a supportive team player. You verify it publicly.
And the sacrificial lamb.
Be very wary of the great opportunity that nobody else seems to want. If a new project is underfunded, has an impossible deadline, and all the senior people are mysteriously staying away from it, they are looking for a face to attach to the inevitable failure. Ask very hard questions about budget, resources, and political support before you ever say yes to something like that.
And finally, a painful one. The law of least effort.
Competence is often punished with more work. If you are the best and fastest person at filling out the TPS reports, you will be doing everyone's TPS reports for the rest of your career. You have to become strategically incompetent at low-value, non-promotable tasks.
Don't be the printer guy.
Never, ever be the printer guy. Be the strategy guy.
Okay, section 7, exits and the self. Eventually, you have to find a way to leave these toxic games or situations.
Leaving is a skill in itself. And sometimes you can't physically leave the job or the family right away. That's where the gray rock method comes in.
How does one become a gray rock?
You become as uninteresting as a literal gray rock. Short, factual answers. Yes. No. Maybe. You offer no emotion, no personal details, no drama. Toxic people, especially narcissists, they feed on drama. It's their supply. If you give them absolutely nothing to react to, they starve and get bored.
You literally bore them into leaving you alone.
That is the entire strategy.
And what about the poison pill? This is a way of saying no without ever actually saying the word no.
Because saying no can make you seem difficult or uncooperative. So instead you say yes, but you make your yes so expensive and complicated that they withdraw the request themselves.
So if your boss asks, can you work all weekend to finish this?
You say, I would love to help the team out. I just need to check the policy. To do that, I'll need to be paid at the triple overtime rate, and I'll need to take next Tuesday and Wednesday off to recover for my own well-being.
And they say, you know what? Never mind.
Exactly. You didn't say no. You were agreeable. You just set a price that they were unwilling to pay.
We also have to address the closure myth. This is a big one.
People stay in terrible jobs and relationships for years, waiting for an apology or an acknowledgement from the other person. I just want them to admit what they did was wrong. That admission will never come. The disrespect, the bad behavior, that was the closure. You have to accept it and walk away for your own sake.
Let's wrap up the content with the shadow work section. The source material gets a little philosophical here, talking about nice versus good.
This is, for me, one of the most critical distinctions in this entire deep dive. Many people who we call nice are nice simply because they are harmless. They are terrified of conflict, they're people pleasers. That isn't a virtue. It's often cowardice disguised as politeness.
Nice is fear-based compliance.
Right. Good is something entirely different. To be a truly good person, you must first have the capacity for danger. You must have teeth. You must be able to be disagreeable, to enforce your boundaries, to say no forcefully. But you make the conscious choice to keep that sword sheathed.
The idea of the competent monster.
Exactly. If you are harmless, you can't be virtuous, you're just weak. You need to develop the capacity to be dangerous, but then be disciplined enough to control it. People don't respect harmlessness. They respect those who could hurt them, but choose not to.
So, after all of this,
Yeah.
what does this all mean for the listener? How do we synthesize this massive and frankly kind of dark psychological framework?
I think the key is you have to detach your ego from the outcome of your interactions. You have to become a scientist of human behavior. When someone attacks you or tries to manipulate you, don't just react emotionally. Take a step back and observe, interesting, they're using the triangulation tactic on me. Oh, that's a classic dominance signal.
It takes the personal sting out of it. It turns what feels like a tragedy into just a data point.
Exactly. You start to judge people based on their actions, not their words, and you realize that this is all just a game. A very serious game, but a game nonetheless. And you can choose when to play, how to play, and when to just walk off the field.
So here is the challenge for you for tomorrow. The source material gives us a very specific homework assignment. I want you to choose one interaction. Maybe it's a meeting at work, maybe it's a negotiation with your teenager over screen time. And in that one interaction, I want you to practice the vacuum of silence.
Just once.
Yeah.
Ask an important question and then shut your mouth. Don't say a word. Count to 10 in your head. See what happens when you stop feeling the need to fill the silence. Watch how the other person scrambles to fill it for you. It will fundamentally change how you view power forever.
That's it for this deep dive. Stay observant, stay strategically competent, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you then.